One thing you probably get a kick out of, the year I graduated from the high school in Sugar Grove, there was 10 of us. That was the whole class.
The whole class?
It was 10. And there was 7 girls and 3 boys. And Emery Mann was one of them.
No kidding.
Emery Mann was one of them. He was a year younger than I was, but he was smart, and he jumped a grade down in the 3rd grade, along in there somewhere. I think he skipped 2nd or 3rd grade. And so that's how, and Marv is actually my brother-in-law. And so we were a small town. We were all running around together. Emery Mann, running around with him all the time. And I guess that's pretty much what started the whole thing. But
And then there were pit stewards, Skip Brown and Russ Thompson. What was your role there as pit steward?
well, what happened? They were up in the tower, or whatever you want to call it, and they would make the lineups. And then they would bring them down to the pit, and then we'd go around and tell them, you're out next, you're starting 3rd, you're starting 4th.
Okay.
You know, you're 5th, or you're last this time, you went too fast last time.
You run down on your feature event, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Off the pole, car number 20, Keith Warner of Titusville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Second on the pole, car number 20, or car number 40, rather. Herb Gustafson, I understand, is from Titusville, PA. Off the pole, it's car number 96, Leon Lindstrom of Northeast PA, a 1957 Ford. Third on the pole, car number 102, Bud Gardner of Warren, PA. Off the pole, car number 220, Chuck Piazza of Jamestown, New York, a 1956 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 1, Marv Thorpe of Sugarville, PA.
Was it a hobby just for you, or could you actually earn $1 or 2 on this project?
Well, when it first started out, like Marv Thorpe and Leonard and I had car together.
Right.
And we didn't make any money, but we was having fun building them. And
Right.
I had the garage, and we'd get the stuff ready and that. And it was entertainment for us more than anything, because there was no money to really be made. And all we had to race with was junkyard parts.
Right.
And the only thing you ever got new maybe on it was a tire, if somebody wanted to spend enough money. I remember, like, one friend of ours, Carl Johnson, that lived up in the country, he'd come down one day and he said, why don't you guys put some tires on it, maybe it'd go somewhere. And so we said, well, maybe if we had the money we would. He said, well, I'll buy you a couple of tires. So, you know, that's how everything had to operate then, you know.
Yeah. After Marv drove your car, who was the next driver that you got?
Johnny Whitehead.
Johnny Whitehead?
Yeah. I got to be a friend of Johnny Whitehead, and he was a character, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But he could drive, and he just had the knack for it, you know. And so I would talk to him and get him squared away a little bit, and he'd show up every time and everything and get the job done. So, and what I liked about him was he'd run the fence. You know, he'd run out wide, just stand right in it and run it wide. And nobody wanted to run out there because it's too close to the fence. And it cost me a few times because he'd get tangled up in it. But I mean, he run good most of the time.
Did Plyler then take Johnny's job, or is that how it happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he drove that 39 and finished out the year. Plyler, because he was a steadfast guy. Nice personality and everything, and so he was, the only thing with him, he was a neatnik. He wanted everything just, you know. And so when they came up to the house at one time, I said, would you like to drive my race car? And he went out, and his wife really didn't want him to. you know, because she said, "I'm thinking you'd get hurt." Well, he could, well, come out here. So he took her out there and he said, "You see these roll bars?" He said, "Look at them. How could you build anything more safe than that?" You know, he kept explaining to her. And he said, "It would be pretty hard for me to get hurt unless I do something dumb." and so he finally convinced her it was all right. Well, he started running pretty good. I remember Dean one time, we were running, in fact, Syracuse. It's a long track, you know, it's a mile track up there, and it's flat and all sand. And you just stand on it and run wide open all the way around. It was almost perfectly round. And we were up there, and before they started the race, he took both valve covers off, poured a quart of oil on each one because they weren't getting any oil. You know, they were getting away with things like that, and I would never dream to even try it because it just don't work for me, you know. They did things like that you just couldn't believe, you know, and they were having fun though. Tom Dill, he came to my garage one time when we were working in there, and he came down, and it was in the summertime, and both the bays were open. And all of a sudden I hear this roar, here comes a motorcycle. He spun it right around in the garage. Boy, we scattered.
In the garage?
In the garage. Oh, he was that way.
Another Dill story.
I mean, we were friends and like that, but he was crazy.
Gee, I would love to have had him be my driver.
I had one of the best ones. I had Jay Plyler.
Right.
He was not only smart, but he was a good driver.
Right.
And then probably would be Squirt Johns and Bobby Snars.
Right.
Frank Roman built cars for the racetrack. He built the Fabulous Four. Do you remember all that stuff?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Well, he built this car, and for some reason they got into a rift up at Stateline with Frank over something. Something displeased him, and he parked the car, took the motor out of it, parked it. And I was down there one day, and I said, "What are you going to do with that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to sell it to you." And I said, "Okay." "What do you want for it?" So he told me. And this is the one I always called the prune because it had so many wrinkles in it. It was painted silver, and it had all them wrinkles. You know, we just get inside and beat it back out again because at that time there was nothing in there. That's all it was just a shell. And you could get right inside and beat them out. See, that's why that's so wrinkled like that. I always called it the prune. Well, I bought this car and put a motor in it, and we were running fair. Then it came time for I think it was a 50-lap mid-season race. I went over to Hallis Junkyard, and I said, "You got a Chevy V8, you'll sell me a motor?" And he said, "I got one," but he says, I don't know what's the matter with it. It misses, you know. And so I said, "Well, what do you want for it?" He said, "I'll take $100 for it." And I said, "No, not as long as I don't know what's the matter with it, you know." So he finally said 75 or 50, I can't remember exactly. So I bought it and took it home, and the distributor was cracked. The cap was cracked. So I had other engines that I had before, so I got the distributor out of one of them, put in it, and put it in for Marv for this 50-lapper. Never even took the exhaust pipes off from it. Stock exhaust were hanging on it yet. You know, I didn't have any headers or anything. Just stuck it in there and got it going. He won that 50-lapper. Wow. And I mean, he was running with some good machinery, but he was running steady.